What's up and welcome to the Hoof Podcast. Happy freaking Friday. This is your host Sterling. I am back rocking the mic and we are back again with our Making the Case series. I'm here to break it down for you this week, kind of give you a little something to ponder, a little something to think about as you go into your week into this Buffalo Bills offseason. So much to talk about around the NFL that you guys probably seen. Carson Wentz getting traded to the Colts. Great move for the Colts, by the way. I think people need to stop sleeping on my guy Carson Wentz. I know he's been getting a bad rap, but the man has talent. And this whole JJ Watt stuff. I don't know. I go back and forth, man. Do we want him? Yeah, shoot, I'll take him. Do the Bills want to pay him for what he's worth or what he's going to be asking for? I don't know. And with that, you got to say, who the Bills going to get rid of to add a talent like J.J. Watt? They did come out and say the salary cap is going to be around $180 million, and they said if it changes, it may shift a little bit. So what? 185 maybe? 187? 187. But not to bring no Southern Cali vibes in here, but what a week it's been. So for those who've been hanging out with us, you know, you're going to see us as the Hoof Podcast. We're going to be doing solo podcasts throughout the offseason. Eric and I and Anthony, we'll reconvene, you know, maybe once a month, just kind of, you know, talk about a few things. You know, we'll get together here soon and we'll kind of finish up the offense. And then once we finish the defensive positions, we'll get together. And then there's free agency that's coming up next month. And, you know, we have the draft in April. So keep it locked here, man. This is the Cover One Network, man. And boy, are we excited to be a part of this family. It's been so good to us. Thank you so much to the fans who've been rocking with us, man, and helping us grow and supporting us. You know, it's just been awesome. So let's jump into this, shall we? So we have these Buffalo Bills, our beloved Buffalo Bills, and the whole idea behind the Making the Case series is to come into these. They're discussions, they're talks. These are not definite ideas of what's going to happen or predictive ideas of, oh, the Bills are going to do this, they think this way. This is just, we're just fleshing it out. Since we don't really have anything to really go off of, just things that we've seen or where things could go. So we just kind of throw things out there to kind of get you thinking a little bit. So we're going to make the case for wide receiver. Now, I want to make the case for a day one wide receiver, a day two receiver, and a day three receiver when it comes to the draft. I do have a couple guys who I think the Bills could target in free agency if they want to go that route. And we'll get to those. So here we go. So you might ask, Sterling, why do we even need to make a case for wide receiver? You know, this is a Bills offense that's second in the league in scoring 501 points. This is an offense that ranked third in the league. Okay. And that's pretty much without a running game. So just think about how much passing, how much production that the Bills are currently getting out of that wide receiver room. Okay. So let's think about what do we have in this wide receiver room. All right. So we got Stephon Diggs. You know, he's a 6-foot wide receiver. Gabriel Davis, 6'2". You know, Stephon Diggs is he's kind of, I mean, what can the guy not do? I mean, Stephon Diggs was already a good receiver prior to, but man, you're looking back at that trade now. What a freaking steal that was. Giving up your first round pick and a little extra, a little salt and pepper on top. So pulling a guy like Stephon Diggs, man, what an addition that was. And we saw it pay dividends this season for the Bills. So he's your kind of he's your do-it-all Swiss Army knife. I mean, he's everything you want in a wide receiver. Gabriel Davis, a 6'2" rookie. Gabriel Davis, excelled catching the ball deep. He had great numbers in yards per reception in that number 4 role, and he had to do a little bit more when John Brown was out. Isaiah Hodgins is a guy that's intriguing at 6'3". This is a player who's also a rookie, but showed some flashes in training camp, reportedly. The Bills seem to be high on him, but he hurt his shoulder, so he didn't get to play at all this season. But he's a guy that we should be looking forward to seeing what he can do in the coming months, whether they have OTAs or down the road in training camp. John Brown, he's a fan favorite, I'd say. John Brown's a 5'11" wide receiver. He displays great speed and ability, has a great rapport with Josh Allen, our quarterback. And, when he's healthy, John Brown looks good. John Brown is a good wide receiver. Now, I know a lot of people were saying that this guy's a number 1 type receiver. I never subscribed to that. And quite honestly, this summer I got flamed for saying that John Brown, it may be his last year with the Bills, or the Bills could potentially trade him with the emergence of Gabriel Davis even before the season. Just from what we were hearing at training camp, people thought I was freaking crazy and insane for having such a take. But, I mean, look where we're at now, folks. John Brown, didn't give us much this season due to injury. And the emergence of Gabriel Davis kind of makes John Brown expendable. Like we mentioned earlier, that salary cap number is going to be a lot lower. So even Brandon Beane himself said that they're going to have to make some tough decisions. Now, we don't know if John Brown's part of that, decision making, or if they feel like he's going to stay on the roster another year, but he is owed. He's got a good cap number for a wide receiver coming in. Okay, the Bills could potentially cut John Brown and save a good chunk of money. You could use that for another player. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with that money that you're owing John Brown. But then you got Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley, he's 5'8" slot receiver. He had his best statistical year in the NFL with the Bills. I mean, this guy strictly balled out. But as we know, Cole Beasley broke his leg toward the end of the season. And that kind of, what a freaking guy, though. What a guy to stick in there and to play through such an injury, man. That's tough to do. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have broken your leg, but how about you break your leg and you still play on it? Like, talk about sacrifice. Talk about guts to be able to do that, man. Those are the kind of guys you want, man. When we live in such a society where it's very prima donna, lack sacrifice, man, that was a straight up OG, old school move, man. And I appreciate Cole Beasley for that. So those are the receivers that I'm going to mention that are going to be on the roster. Now, there's Isaiah McKenzie, who's a free agent. My guy Roberts, he's a free agent. And I don't know if the Bills are going to re-sign those guys. Andre Roberts is a great return man, but what does he really offer you in terms of being a wide receiver in the room? Well, not very much at this point, but he is a great return man. And so I got to give him that. So here are a few takeaways that when we make the case for a Bills wide receiver, there's a couple things that I want you guys to maybe keep in mind, to be thinking about. Why would the Bills need another wide receiver? Well, I think the first thing is, can you ever have enough playmakers for a young quarterback? I mean, look what Josh Allen, and this is not a Josh Allen podcast, but you can't deny what he's been able to do in his third year. Okay? Josh Allen balled out. Second in MVP voting, we all know. But you can look down the stretch and you can go, you know what? The Bills need another bona fide playmaker across from Stephon Diggs. I think teams kind of keyed in on Cole Beasley. They figured, okay, you know what? I'm going to let you have Stephon Diggs because we can't stop him anyway. So, we'll give you whatever Stephon Diggs wants. But you know what we're going to do is we're going to put the clamps on Cole Beasley. Maybe a bracket coverage, get physical with them or whatever. Teams kind of keyed in on that. Kansas City keyed in on that. They play man. They play a lot of man. And we saw the Bills had a hard time with that man. Okay. So the Bills need more playmakers. I think for the Bills, in order to take another step in where they want to go offensively. Now, again, Anthony made a compelling case. All right. And Eric made a compelling case. They talked about offensive line. They talked about tight ends, right? I talked about running back. But we're talking about wide receivers today. And I think the Bills, they could do some improvements in that room. I think when you look at this wide receiver room collectively, you got guys who they're separators. They what we have is speed. Okay, I say we have some good speed. We got good route running ability. And I think we have position versatility. Okay, these are guys that Brian Daboll likes to employ in offense with his wide receivers where, they can line up anywhere on the field. So those are great things. I think there's a couple things that the wide receivers as a collective room are missing. I think they're missing physicality. There's not a Bills wide receiver on this roster that gives you that bully beast mode kind of mentality, that run after the catch, like throw it to me, a drag route, quick screen, and I'm going to break a tackle and get you 5 yards. Now, Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs can give you that, but, they're being evasive. They're making a guy miss. I'm talking about an A.J. Brown. Let me throw it to you short. DK Metcalf, throw it to you short and go ahead and gain me, 5, 6, 7 yards. Okay. I think the Bills are missing that kind of element on their offense. We don't have that guy. And when you talk about yards after catch, okay, Stephon Diggs is 3.7 yards after reception. Gabriel Davis was 3.9. John Brown came in at a 5.1. It was highest on the team. And Cole Beasley came 4.7 yards after reception. Those aren't bad numbers, folks. Those are good. But I think the Bills are missing a more physical element at the wide receiver position. I think, Josh Allen is your he's your LeBron James, your Nikola Jokic, your Swiss Army knife power forward point. I mean, he's your point guard, but he's physical. I mean, he can do so much, right? But I think he needs his Scottie Pippen. He needs his Karl Malone, if you will. Somebody just is just physical. Dennis Rodman. I mean, we could talk about, NBA all day. That's my sport, right? But the Bills are missing that mean edge, I feel like, and some of that yak, those short yardage situations, that physical beast. The Bills are missing that. I think that's something that they can add. I got a prospect that I think could fit the bill there. No pun intended. Another thing, I think the Bills are missing an elite speed demon. Someone who, like a Tyreek Hill, like a Deshaun Jackson. Okay. Kansas City Chiefs have a couple of those guys. McCole Hardman is one of those guys, right? They kind of have the most complete wide receiver room in terms of abilities, right? With Sammy Watkins and you throw Travis Kelce in, even though he's a tight end, but they have a more complete set of wide receivers or receiving targets. The Bills were very we're separators. We're more finesse, if you will. So I don't think it would hurt to add a prospect there with that type of physicality. Now, I know people are going to say, well, what about Duke Williams? Well, Duke Williams has been on the roster for years, it seems, and he just hasn't cracked that starting lineup that much. I don't know why. That's not my job. I'm here. I wish I could see what goes on in practice or understand why McDermott and Bean feel like he's not ready. I trust him though. So he's on the practice squad for a reason. And I think it's time to move on from the whole Duke Williams experiment altogether. At the end of the day, it's great that you can take a practice squad, but what's your purpose? What are we doing? Great that you can come in and practice and ball out. But I want to see some of that production. I want to see some of that production on the field on Sundays. And I'm not being a Duke Williams hater. I'm just stating the facts. So what have we surmised so far? Okay. I said the Bills need a more physical edge to the wide receiving room, and I think they could use an element where they could take the top off of defense. That's outside of Stephon Diggs. So a couple free agent options that we can look at. Number one, we'll go with John Ross. John Ross is one of those guys that you talk about taking the top off of defense with speed. I mean, he's that guy. This is a guy that was a first round draft pick for the Bengals. Didn't work out. He's had injury issues, and I guess he's just kind of been wanting a home, really. We don't really get to see everything that has been going on in Cincinnati, but this is a guy that asked for a trade before the season. He was wanting out. We saw the emergence of Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins and so forth. So, they have a cupboard that's full in terms of wide receiving ability, coupled with a very promising young quarterback in Joe Burrow. John Ross felt like it's time. And so now he's an unrestricted free agent. I mean, what trait does he bring to the table? Well, like I said, it's elite speed. I think he definitely needs improvement in route running. I think, the best ability is availability. I would love to see him healthy. This is a guy that I don't think he's had over 30 receptions in a season. Okay. But when he gets the ball in his hands, watch out. If you can effectively get the ball in his hands, whether that's on a bubble screen or however Brian Daboll feels the need. I mean, we're terrible at screens, but however, in the short pass game, I think Brian Daboll's the guy that can get some production out of him, barring he stays healthy. He could be a complementary piece, kind of like the Isaiah McKenzie role. We know Isaiah McKenzie. I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. I mean, that guy, since he's been in Buffalo, he's developed. He had severe fumbleitis and ball security issues with the Broncos. I almost depressed the young man. I mean, dude was not, he'll tell you, he was not doing good. Kind of messed with the psyche. I think John Ross can come in and give you what Isaiah McKenzie gives you. And he gives you a more of an elite speed threat than Isaiah McKenzie does. Now, I know Isaiah McKenzie is homies with Josh Allen and so forth. And I'm here to tell you guys, I love that, Josh Allen has developed relationships with a lot of these guys, but the Bills are in a position where they're going to have to start saying goodbye to some people that we've learned to love. And I think Isaiah McKenzie's on that list. Now we'll see what they offer him as far as the contract goes, but I think he's earned the right to go test free agency and see what's out there for him. I think that's only fair. So that's John Ross. My favorite option, though, would be Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, I'll say this. Y'all all know I'm a Michigan guy. Curtis Samuel played at Ohio State, so I've been watching this guy for quite some time, and I hate him. I hate him in terms of seeing him on another team. Hated watching him at Ohio State, and that was not a first down by J.T. Barrett or whatever. But Curtis Samuel killed them in that game. Curtis Samuel has been balling out. Every year that he's been in the NFL, he's improved. You can't look at you can't watch the film and tell me he hasn't gotten better as a wide receiver, because he just has. And his production has shown that. This year, Curtis Samuel amassed 77 receptions and 851 yards and 3 touchdowns receiving. On the ground, 41 rushes, 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So this is a Swiss Army knife kind of guy. I think he would be a slam dunk, shoe-in, home run in this offense. And he gives you a little bit more in the speed category. He's not a burner. Like, he's not John Ross or He ain't gonna do that, but he could do a lot. This is a guy that he's a threat in the short and the intermediate game. He's a threat. Okay. And he has ability to take you deep. He does have the ability to do that. He's an unrestricted free agent. What would it cost to bring in a guy like Curtis Samuel? I don't know. I don't know what his market value is. Talk to our guy Greg Tomstead or go to Spot Track. That might can give us a better understanding of what his market value is. But I think if the Bills want to go that route, look, I think the Bills can make that contract happen. Okay. Hell, you could get rid of John Brown and add Curtis Samuel. He's cheaper. And he can give you a little bit more in terms of versatility. Now, he's not going to be the route runner that John Brown is. But I think the Bills need a little bit more versatility in their cupboard in terms of what's in the wide receiver room. Now, my dream would be Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin gives you a lot. But listen, I know the Bills cannot and will not be able to afford him. I'm just throwing it out there because it's fun. I like Chris Godwin's game. What a great receiver out of Penn State. He's been terrific for the Buccaneers. He got him a little Super Bowl, so I'm happy for him. But yeah, what a dream would that be? That would be so dope, but it ain't happening. All right, so you can't have everything you want in an offseason, right? You're going to have to make sacrifices. You're going to have, plan A, plan B, C, and D. All right. We don't know what the Bills are going to prioritize. We haven't looked at their room, right? And saw what's written on the walls. But what I want to do right now is I want to give you a couple prospects, maybe in the draft, to look at that I think could be some pretty intriguing prospects. Now, we'll go with the day one pick. Now, if you've been following the Hoof Live or even on our podcast here, you've heard me talk about this guy. University of Florida, you've been hearing a lot of talk about him lately, and that's Kadarius Toney. Now, I'm going to toot my horn again because not this past college football season, but the season before, I remember talking to Eric, and I was watching the I believe it was University of Miami against Florida. And I saw this kid for the first time and I was like, damn, this dude can play. Like, his speed is just off the charts, man. What he's able to do on the football field is electric. Reminds me of Tyreek Hill. He's electric with the ball in his hands. All right. Tyreek Hill was not the receiver that you saw when he came out of college. He developed into a top 5 wide receiver in this league. I'm not saying Kadarius Toney has that ceiling, but what I'm telling you is Kadarius Toney brings elite traits to the table. Speed, elusiveness. Those are elite traits. When you're scouting and you're evaluating prospects, you're not necessarily, you don't put too much value on production, but you look at these guys and you put the value on what they bring to the table. What traits do they have? And I think Kadarius Toney, he has a couple of elite traits, and that's speed and elusiveness. You cannot teach that. That is something that's not necessarily manufactured in a factory, okay? That's God-given ability, folks. And what that man does, he is a straight burner. Now, y'all know I've been a sucker for speed. I was a big Henry Ruggs fan, I probably told you that I like John Ross coming out. I did. Not gonna lie. I'm a big Roscoe Parrish fan too, so y'all already know where I'm coming. I love speed guys. Speed guys don't always turn out to be the best, right? How many speed guys are top guys in the NFL? Not many. But it doesn't hurt to have one of these guys in your wide receiver room to kind of complete it, to balance it out. Kadarius Toney does that. What does Kadarius Toney do? That we know he has elite speed and elusiveness, right? What does he pan out? What does he project as? What can he do? Like I like to look at guys and say, what can he do, not what he can't do. Again, I've said this before. Anybody can look at a prospect and go, okay, well, they can't do this. But what can he do? I think Kadarius Toney can create separation. All right. He has quick twitch, in and out of breaks. They've improved. His route stem, and it's looking a lot. It's gotten better. He's gotten better as a route runner. He kind of has this herky-jerky route running ability. It's very Stevie Johnson-esque. I mean, if you go back and look at what he does in the slot, and look how Stevie runs routes, it's kind of like he's doing crossovers. It's just that loose, herky-jerky, hezzy kind of route running. I love it. It reminds me of Stevie Johnson. This man has great run after catch ability. I mean, you put the ball in this man's hands and he is a threat to take it to the house. So anytime this man's on the field, you're going to, defensive coordinators is going to keep you up at night because you're going to want to know where's Toney? Where's Toney? Think about that. Think about what that looks like, in your 10 personnel package. Kadarius Toney, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis, Isaiah Hodgins. I mean, yo, hey, I'm talking about that's very Lake Show with Magic Johnson back there. I'm talking Josh Allen is just straight dishing. I mean, what, dude? Just think about having a guy like that in the backfield, on that jet sweep motion that they like to use Isaiah McKenzie on. But having a guy like Kadarius Toney back there run that, whew, that's dangerous. Very dangerous. He has position versatility. I think he projects best in the slot as a wide receiver 3. I think that's where he's going to do his most damage. But he can line up outside too. I think, Brian Dable, I think we have a good enough offensive coordinator where you could take chances on guys like this. And you can see what their abilities are and what they can do. Like I said, he's a burner and he could beat man coverage. So we saw against the Kansas City Chiefs that the Bills had a hard time with man coverage. The Chiefs really got physical with the Bills. Really got physical, and we really didn't have an answer. Really didn't have an answer. I mean, Stephon Diggs is going to get his. Cole Beasley was hurt, so, he's limited. But this is a guy that can beat man coverage, and I think you need that. I think we saw what Tyreek Hill did. Took a play, set what, Mecole Hardman took a run for 71 yards, or that was Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had one for a long one. Mecole Hardman had like a 51-yard run. But just having that ability coming out of your backfield or however you want to employ that, man, that stuff's important, man. That is a hell of a trait and a hell of an ability. I think we definitely need that. Kadarius Toney definitely does that. Here's another guy that I want to bring to your attention today. Nico Collins. Now you're going to say, Sturls, bruh, listen, why do you always got to talk about Michigan Wolverines? Okay, but listen, those are my guys. Okay. But I'm not just saying it just to say, okay, well, he's from Michigan, so I gotta throw him on the pod. I'm just telling you the guy can play. Nico Collins is a 6'4", 215-pound wide receiver. And you don't hear about him much, well, for a couple of reasons. One, Michigan's offense is trash. Number two, he sat out this year. But prior to the season, they were talking about Nico Collins being a first-round talent because he has first-round ability. Michigan hasn't had good quarterback play. Shea Patterson, he didn't get it done. Joe Milton this year didn't get it done. So Michigan's had good wide receivers. You saw what Donovan Peoples-Jones was able to do with Baker Mayfield this year. Michigan has guys at receiver that can ball. Nico Collins is the best one of them. He is the best one of the Michigan wide receivers. He's better than Donovan Peoples-Jones, who was taken in the 6th round. I felt like he should have been taken sooner. But he showed why he should have been taken sooner. Nico Collins has real first-round ability. So what can Nico Collins do? I think he can be physical. You're not going to see a lot of his physicality on tape in terms of run after catch ability, but it's there. I mean, I've been watching this guy for a few years, and it's there. elite catch radius. That's his elite trait. Like this guy, just like I would say, just like Isaiah Hodgins has elite catch radius, Nico Collins is that guy. He is the ultimate jump ball guy. He is a guy that's going to jump up and it's like a rebound. He's going to snatch it out of the air. I mean, he's going to straight snatch the ball. You're going to get that from Nico Collins. Like I said, he brings that physical presence. He has good run after catch ability. He wins vertically. All right. He wins vertically. He can develop underneath at the next level, I believe. I think you can give him, develop his underneath route running ability. Again, just because we didn't see much of it in college doesn't mean he can't do it. But I think Nico Collins has the ability to run clean routes, to break off, his route tree, to be able to handle, cornerbacks getting physical with him. I think he can, excel in this vertical offense. In the Brian Daboll offense, I think he can excel. He can give you that physical ability. He has a big frame at 6'4", 250 pounds. That's a big man. That's a big man, okay? Playing wide receiver. He's a talented young man. He's a talented guy. Like I said, he's not a household name that much just because, Michigan quarterbacks aren't very good or haven't been playing very well. Okay, so that's definitely been an issue with the Wolverines. Hopefully they fix that. All right. So that's Nico Collins. And I'm gonna give you a guy now that he's kind of like my draft crush. Like Kadarius Toney is number one, but this dude I'm about to mention to you, you probably never even heard of him. Okay. Now there's a few prospects that are kind of like I'm crushing on a little bit. All right. And I'm not saying this guy's an all pro or nothing crazy like that, but I just think he's intriguing. Okay. You could find this man in the state of Texas. And his name is Jalen Darden. He is a 5'9" wide receiver, 170 pounds out of the University of North Texas. All right. University of North Texas. But this guy can straight up ball. He can straight up ball. I mean, he has elite speed and explosiveness. I mean, this guy can really get after it. I think he has good run after catch ability. I think he has great separation and tracking the ball downfield. Like this is a guy that can catch the deep ball. He's not a he doesn't catch the ball too well outside of his body. Okay. But I think he has really good hands. I think he has above average hands, I'd say. I think he, you can use him in the screen game and the return game. Kind of like you do with Isaiah McKenzie. This is a guy that could be found on day 3. Okay. Nico Collins is going to come in at the day 2, and Kadarius Toney is going to be your day 1 option. The Bills want to go wide receiver. Any of those days in the draft, or even in the scope of our podcast today, round 1, I think Kadarius Toney is your guy. We don't know the other areas and positions that the Bills are going to plug, but Jalen Darden, day 3, man. Go look at his highlight film. I challenge you to go look at his tape and look at what this guy's able to do. He is a touchdown machine, by the way. The guy can make you miss. He has good run after catch ability. I like that he is an improving route runner. I think he really he can sell some of his routes well. That's going to be a position to improve upon when he gets to the NFL, and especially trying to thrive in this Bills offense. You're going to have to be a good route runner. That's what Brian Daboll likes. He likes guys that can run effective routes. Can he do it? I don't know. But I think Jalen Darden's a guy that you should be able to look at if you want to get a guy in, rounds 4 or 5 or 6, probably in the 5th or 6th round range. 7th, I don't know if he'll last the 7th round, but I think he's definitely in that 4, 5, 6 range for sure. For sure. Jalen Darden, North Texas, wide receiver, 5'9" and 170 pounds. So I don't know what the Bills are going to do, but I think wide receiver is one of those positions that I think, when you look at the Bills as a whole from an offensive point of view, the theme before this season was the Bills didn't score enough points. Well, I could probably say going into this season, the Bills still didn't score enough points, even though, they were second in points this season. When it mattered, though, we weren't able to get it done in key moments. You're going to have to be able to go into shootouts with teams like Kansas City. You're going to have to be able to run the ball. You know, you're not always going to, Josh Allen can't always have a 300, 400-yard game and throw, 3 to 4 touchdowns. I mean, it's just, that's unrealistic. But what you can do is you can supplement that and you get guys with elite traits. You need to find a guy with elite traits and bring him in at the wide receiver position. The Bills are like I said earlier, they function more on finesse. I think we need to be multifaceted. As much as the Bills like the position flexibility, I think that applies to traits in the wide receiver room as well. And I think they're missing that physical element. They're missing that home run speed threat element. I want to see guys get more yak, yards after catch. More yak. I want to see more yak. I want to see the Bills be able to employ a screen game. We have not been able to do that. Is that Brian Daboll's problem? Yeah, I say so. I think you got guys that can get to the second level on the offensive line. But we'll get into Brian Daboll and all that stuff later. So evaluating this Bills team, we want to see them get to that next level. We want to see them get to that Super Bowl. And again, and to close all this up, we don't know what the Bills are thinking. It's so much fun to go into this offseason and go, okay, the Bills can do this, or this. This is one of the first off seasons that I've, seen that, like I haven't seen a Bills team other than the 90s, be stacked at certain positions, probably have one of the best rosters from top to bottom. But you look at it and you go, oh man, we still got holes. And there's never a complete roster. You'll never have a complete roster. But I think it's time to start taking some chances, start swinging at the fence a little bit. People have been getting mad at us talking about, why would you take a running back round 1? Or why would you take a wide receiver round 1? Or a tight end round 1? Or it's all about the trenches, and we are paying respect to every position outside of quarterback. And speaking of that, how great does it feel? How amazing does it feel to not have to worry about the quarterback position going into 2021? It feels amazing. And not only that, but we have a top 5 quarterback in this league. Think about that. This is the first time that we're going to go into the offseason in 20 years where we say the Bills have a top 5 quarterback in this league. Do you know how many times we would just speculate, oh man, if the Bills would, get this guy, draft this guy at quarterback. We ain't got to do that no more. So we can go to bed knowing that Josh Allen's a talent and he's only gotten better. But Josh Allen, in order for Josh Allen to stay good and be better and to elevate his game and to get the things that we want, which is the Super Bowl, to win AFC championship games and so forth, we got to give him more weapons to do that. And I think, having a full cupboard of wide receivers is going to do the trick. I think it's really going to do the trick. So that's all that I have for you guys, folks. That's all. We're going to move over to the defensive side of the ball starting, in 2 weeks. Next week, I think we're going to kind of summarize and kind of bring it all together, making the case for the offense, right? We're going to talk about it as a whole, putting all of our notes together and kind of, giving you guys maybe speculatory, a roadmap to what the Bills can do on the offensive side of the ball, predicting some moves. That's what we're going to do next week. So I think you guys should definitely tune in for that. And after that, we're going to go back to our solo pods and we're going to start making the case for defensive line, defensive end, defensive tackle, cornerback, linebacker, safety, whatever. We're going to make the case for these guys in round 1. It's an exciting time to be a Bills fan, man. It's an exciting time knowing that when your team steps on the field next year, We're going to have Bills Mafia in the stadium. Going in, they're already talking about how the Bills are going to be one of the top teams. One of the top teams in the NFL going into next year, and that's true. That is very true. And look, you got to give it to your front office and coaching staff. I mean, Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, man, these guys are killing it. They are freaking killing it. So anyway, man, thank you guys for supporting us here at Cover One in the Hoof Podcast. My name is Sterling, and I'm out of here. You guys have a blessed weekend, and go Bills.